Got a pretty wet, windy, soggy weekend. You can probably use whatever amount of adjectives you want to describe it, but really any way you see it, you are at some point in the weekend gonna see at least a shower at the very least, if not some heavy rain at times, which could lead to some coastal flooding, some localized flooding and ponding on some of the streets, especially in urban areas. So we got a lot to get into, so just gonna get to it here. You obviously got your satellite and radar up right now. You can kind of see the training and convergent bands of showers making their way from the northeast to the west and southwest, continuing onshore, actually sustaining themselves. A lot of the time, most of these will move onshore, and then once they pretty much reach Highway 301 on like the western side of Duval and Clay counties, they begin to fizzle out and really never even make it to like the I-75 corridor. Going to be a little bit of a different story this weekend. We have slightly more of a tropical air mass in place. That's going to help sustain almost the life cycle, so to speak, of some of those showers and heavier downpours the whole way across North Florida and even some parts of South Georgia here through the weekend and into early next week. So got some showers out there. We'll look a little bit closer at that in a second. Winds, though, also quite strong, pretty much out of the northeast, anywhere from 15 to 20 miles per hour with regards to sustained. You got a 23 mile per hour wind in Mayport. Then when you look at the gusts, they have consistently been about 25 to 30. Yesterday, the sustained winds were a little bit lower, but the gusts were higher. Today, sustained winds a little bit breezier, but the gusts themselves have pretty much maxed out at about 31, 32 miles per hour. So a showery, windy Friday evening out there. And then I mentioned the flooding concern. We're going to start here with the coastal flood advisory and the coastal flood warning. So you'll notice Nassau, Camden, and Glenn counties just have that coastal flood advisory, whereas Duval, St. Johns, Clay, Putnam, and Flagler counties, we all have that coastal flood warning in effect, primarily due to that very strong northeast flow that has been in place here now for the last several days and will continue as such through today, through Saturday and Sunday, and into the weekend. And that's really just kind of putting a plug almost on the St. Johns River and really some portions of the intercoastal as well. You combine that with the rough surf and everything like that, we could see some issues with regards to those high tide periods here over the next couple of days. And we'll break that down here for you in just a second. Rain-wise, a little bit of a closer look. Duval County, northern St. Johns, kind of South Ponte Vedra Beach having a nice shower making its way, roll on through the Bay Meadows area, kind of headed towards Rivertown, Silverleaf, Green Cove even, and then northeastern Duval County, pretty much right up around Ocean Way, kind of about to make its way kind of toward, where would that be? New Berlin Road and Alta Drive, perhaps, just to the east of I-95 up there in northeastern Duval County. So those are really where the heaviest downpours are. Similar story down in St. Augustine as well, there along coastal St. John. So many places are, again, going to just see these very quick-moving showers making their way on in. So it's going to be a treacherous weekend, so to speak, with regards to folks. You're taking your dog out for a walk. Let's say you go on a mile walk with your pup every morning. Probably at some point within that mile, unless you're a speed walker and you do it really fast, you're probably going to get hit with at least a few drops of rain, if not just a real quick blast of some heavy rain, even if it's just for 30 seconds or so. You're pretty much just going to want to have that umbrella on standby because you're never going to know when you're going to need to grab a hold of it and put the umbrella up to keep yourself dry. And a lot of the reason why these showers are so quick moving are because of how gusty the winds are. You can actually see the clouds up there moving across the screen. Winds aloft are 40, 45 miles per hour. So these showers, those clouds, moving along at a rather tight clip. So just keep that in mind, not only for the whole weekend, but also tonight as well. You got Friday night plans that require you to be outside. Perhaps Friday night football is going to be a washout? No. But have the rain gear handy. You're going to need it. Not all games are going to see rain, but some will. And temperature-wise, it'll feel rather nice. Upper to mid 70s here once the games either kick off at 6:30 or 7 p.m. tonight. And similar story for our game of the week. Of course, Decoy Creek at Beachside. Should be a good matchup there. And of course, yes, there's going to be some damp bleachers around. Take the towel or the blanket, wipe it off, lay it down. Try to keep yourself as dry as best you can. Wouldn't be a bad idea to pack the rain poncho either. Again, are we expecting it to be a complete deluge for the entirety of the game? No, but there will be some showers around off and on here through the rest of your Friday night. But as for the rest of the weekend, we are expecting almost incrementally for the rain coverage and intensity to increase a little bit more every single day. And because of the overall coverage, of course, our threshold for that weather impact alert is 70% of us see rain. We have issued it for your Saturday, your Sunday, and your Monday, primarily for the rain, but also for some of the coastal impacts that we're going to have. You'll notice there, beach erosion, wave heights or surf heights could be anywhere from about 3 to 6 feet. And of course, during periods of high tide, we could see the water rise anywhere of about 2 to 3 feet above normal dry ground during those periods. Why is this happening? Well, we're kind of in this high-low squeeze or this wedge, so to speak. So you got a nice big ridge of high pressure or area of high pressure kind of just off the mid-Atlantic coast. So think Delaware, New Jersey, big area of high pressure up there, wrapping those winds in around clockwise. Now here closer to home, we have a surface trough right along our east coast, kind of acting as a convergence zone, so to speak, for some low-level moisture. And then further south, there is a broad area or weak area of low pressure across South Florida and the western Bahamas. That low pressure, of course, circulating in counterclockwise winds. So you get the winds coming around and up and over that high to our north, and then down and around and up and over then with the low to our south, really just providing this wind tunnel, so to speak. Hence why we're going to get some gusty winds and also just adding in a little extra moisture, funneling all of it right here across central Florida, North Florida, and even into portions of South Georgia here over the weekend and into early next week. So this is pretty much what I was trying to mention with regards to the impacts to our waterways, whether that's the intercoastal or the St. Johns River or even out at the beach. 3 to 6 foot surf, 2 to 3 feet above normal dry ground. Expect that during periods of high tide, which typically mean once you hit about that 3 foot mark, you can begin to see, for example, some of the drainage grates and drains around Jacksonville and San Marco, they can begin to back up, at least during the high tide times. So for example, here at our First Coast News station, our back parking lot has a drain out there. Once we get high tides that are more than about 3 feet, you'll start to see water begin to fill up. It might not be a lot, but there will be some in areas that are flood prone, especially during the king tides and things of that nature. So please just keep that in mind. If you're out and about at all and you run into some of these locations that, you know, are prone to coastal flooding and things of that nature during periods of high tide, just please don't drive through the water. Turn around, don't drown. I know it's an old age adage, but it really is true. So please just keep that in mind. Coastal impacts will be around. That's why the National Weather Service has that coastal flood warning in effect rather than a coastal flood advisory. So please just take caution with regards to any coastal impacts out there this weekend. Now, the other side of the coin and the story, of course, is going to be the rain. For both Saturday and Sunday, we're going to have a level 1 out of 4 marginal risk for excessive rainfall here across the First Coast. So localized flooding will be a possibility depending on where some of those heavier downpours and even a few isolated thunderstorms perhaps try to develop and then train and move over the same locations. If you get 2 or 3 downpours moving over the same spot over a short period of time, that's really going to stack up your rain totals. And before you know, you might have 2 or 3 inches within a 3 or 4 hour span. That's how you end up leading to localized flooding in some spots. So at least for tomorrow, we're primarily thinking 70% of us see rain. I'm expecting off and on scattered showers. So are you going to have steady rain all day? No. There's going to be pockets of dry time out there that you're going to be able to get outside and do whatever you need to do. So don't let it deter you necessarily from taking the dog to the park or going shopping or whatever you might have planned. There's going to be rain around, but it will not just be raining steady all day. Again, if you're out for an extended period of time, if it's 2 or 3 hours, yeah, you're going to see rain at some point within that time frame, especially if you live up and down I-95 in our coastal areas. That's where you're going to have the best chance to see some rain tomorrow. So as we look at our high-res future cast here, this of course starts with tonight. You'll notice Models certainly still showing the chance for some showers to move onshore here over the next couple of hours, even past sunset tonight and during the overnight period. And then early tomorrow morning, there's 9:30, so maybe you're sleeping in a little bit, waking up. Some showers around. Again, it's not going to be necessarily widespread all day long. As you get into the mid to latter portions of the afternoon, perhaps a few heavier downpours roll their way in. But notice, it might not be raining in Nahunta, but it could be raining in Jacksonville, could be raining in St. Augustine, but Green Cove might be dry. So it's not going to be raining everywhere all at once. These are going to be kind of haphazard, scattered showers moving onshore. The difference then is you're looking ahead later on in the weekend, Saturday or on Sunday, and then even into Monday. We're expecting slightly heavier waves of rain or rounds of heavy downpours that make their way onshore. That's when we're really going to start to notice the rainfall accumulation totals and potentially, some localized flooding. So we'll talk on that here in a second. I did want to talk about this quick. Lou and I talked about it some yesterday, the St. Mary's Seafood Festival. Actually, my guy Brock out at the assignment desk told me about this. St. Mary's own Brock Hardesty. Gosh, what a guy. It's not looking great for them. There's going to be some rain around. It's going to be windy, though. So all those vendors out there, and you can see it in the picture, all the vendors, they're going to need to put those sandbags down on the corner of the tents that they got up, right? Or tie them down, because right there along the water, in downtown St. Mary's, if you've never been, it's right along the water. Sustained winds 15 to 25, but closer you are to the water, better chance you have of seeing wind gusts of about 30 to 35 miles per hour. So it's going to be windy up there in St. Mary's tomorrow. And, of course, we'll have some showers. So take the umbrella, perhaps a poncho, or at least a rain jacket or something like that if you are planning on heading up to the Seafood Festival tomorrow. Again, I believe it starts at 7:30 or 8 a.m., the 5 and 10K. The parade starts at 10 then, I believe. And then the rest of the day, they got lots of good stuff going on. Elsewhere, of course, football. Saturday football is back. Georgia up there in Athens looking to be the best game, at least weather-wise. Temperature's going to be in the mid to upper 70s. Breezy, yes, but some sunshine, some drier weather. Different story in Gainesville. Down in the swamp, if you're a Gator fan, you're going to be pretty much dealing with the exact same thing we're going to be dealing with here in Jacksonville and much of us around the First Coast. Rain coverage might not be nearly as much because you're a little bit further west there in Gainesville, so that's why it's only about a 60% coverage for rainfall, but nonetheless, might be a little wet and damp down there in the swamp on Saturday afternoon. Tallahassee, likely a little bit too far west to get too much of an impact from our coastal showers or tropical downpours. There might be some rain in the forecast, but overall shouldn't be too impactful for any Seminole fans heading out to Tallahassee tomorrow night. Now, let's look ahead to Sunday. More training showers, localized flooding going to be a concern. You'll notice temperatures in the low to mid 80s. Winds still, though, east from 15 to 25 miles per hour. Gusts out at the beaches and all coastal areas up to about 30 miles per hour. We are expecting the heaviest rain to occur throughout the day on Sunday and into Monday. So I think this only goes out until early Monday morning, I believe, because our models go out about 72 hours. But nonetheless, here's giving you a good look. So there's 2 p.m. Sunday afternoon. Of course, you have to take it with a little bit of a grain of salt of where exactly it's showing the rain, but it's some brighter colors, and again, it's going to be a little bit more widespread waves of these tropical downpours and showers expected to move onshore with those breezy easterly winds. Similar story for the Monday morning commute, and then off and on throughout the day Monday as well. So heavy rain likely. There will be a few thunderstorms embedded within the overall wave of rain. I expect it a little bit more so on Monday than I do on Sunday. So I would say storm chances are probably about 10% Sunday, 20% on Monday. But rain-wise, we're talking about 80% chance of rain for both your Sunday, and your Monday to end the weekend and into early next week. So, quite the soggy forecast for a lot of folks, and it's not looking better for the Jags game against the Chiefs next week on Monday Night Football. Yesterday, Lou and I were kind of talking about, there could be a few storms earlier in the period, earlier in the day if you get out there to tailgate early. There will be some showers around, but it might not be too bad. Now we're thinking, okay, the storm threat that, yes, is still there during the afternoon period is going to remain, but closer to kickoff and even, through the game, it does look like there's going to be enough tropical moisture in place that we actually do have some passing showers throughout the game. It's going to be a damp evening over there. I expect a wet playing surface, a bit of a sloppy game over there at the bank for the Jags and the Chiefs come Monday night. So certainly don't sell your tickets. Go to the game. We don't have too many night games, especially Monday Night Football here in Jacksonville. But a little bit of a shame that at least right now the forecast does show at least a decent chance for rain. Of course, we might luck out. Those showers may stay north or south, and they never actually hit downtown Jacksonville. Then we'll be sitting pretty. It'll be great. Again, it'll be breezy out there. Winds out of the east about 10 to 20 miles per hour on Monday evening. So we'll just have to kind of wait and see. But just know right now, if you have tickets to the game Monday, yes, there is a chance for some showers, especially early on, but it will continue through the entirety of the game. At least that chance. Is it going to rain the whole time? Probably not, but just know there's that possibility. So from now through Monday evening, how much rain are we talking about, right? Of course, you're always going to have those locally higher amounts depending on where those heavier downpours and even thunderstorms do set up. But this is really what we're thinking. Coastal areas in St. Johns and Flagler counties, and then again, Glenn and Camden, 4 to 5, maybe 6 inches locally in some spots, but much of the I-95 corridor could see anywhere from about 2 to 4 inches here, excuse me, by the time we wrap up Monday Night Football here on Monday night. So further inland locations, once you get out towards I-75 and the Swanee, rain totals, yeah, they're going to fall down the ladder of the stairs a little bit, not be nearly as high. You're talking closer to about an inch of rain. But many of us are going to see some much-needed rainfall and a pretty solid soaking here over about the next 3, even 4 days in some spots. So, yeah, give the sprinklers a break. We'll have plenty of rain to feed the grass and any plants that you have out there through the weekend and into Monday. Now let's switch things up. I got, about 4 minutes left here. Let's talk about the tropics quick. Of course, that National Hurricane Center highlighted area over the Bahamas and South Florida, only a 10% chance of development over the next 48 hours. That's all situated with that, or associated maybe I should say, with that area of low pressure that I had talked about earlier. Again, it's only a 10% chance. It's low. Whether it forms or not, of course, right now it looks very unlikely, but even if it did, our impacts remain the same. It's still going to be windy. It's still going to be showery and rainy out there all weekend. So really, we're not all that concerned about that one. The other area that ourselves in the National Hurricane Center are watching is this tropical wave that just moved off the west coast of Africa, really within about the last 6 hours. It has now been given a medium 50% chance of development over the next 7 days. You'll notice a 0% chance over the next 48 hours, but a 50% chance over the next 7 days, showing it potentially developing once it reaches more so into the central Atlantic. So there's Tuesday, Wednesday, next Thursday, next Friday, and then even into next Saturday. So now we're talking 7 to 8 days out. This storm is just reaching the Windward Islands and perhaps somewhere around Puerto Rico. So we're, if there were going to be potential impacts here on the first coast, we're talking probably 8 to 14 days away. But most modeling, both European and GFS, I believe this model run is the European, shows this tropical wave kind of reaching the Leeward Islands or the Windward Islands and kind of where the U.S. British Virgin Islands are, Puerto Rico, reaching that area, and then more than likely beginning a recurve to the north. There's going to be a front that drops down across the Tennessee River Valley and across the southeast here late next week and into next weekend. And once that front kind of hits out over the open ocean waters and the associated jet stream aloft with it, it is more than likely going to pick up this system and recurve it off to the north and back up into the North Atlantic. Won't be a concern for us. That's what modeling is showing right now. Of course, it is much too early to lock that in, so we're going to continue to monitor it. But I just want you to know there's nothing to be real concerned about, at least for another 7 days. Again, this goes until next Saturday, so we're over a week away from it even reaching the Eastern Caribbean. So although the tropics are remaining active, nothing imminent, at least for the time being. So to wrap it all up here for you, tie a bow on it, weather impact alert Saturday, Sunday, Monday for the rain coverage. Coastal flood warning in effect until 5 a.m. Monday morning. Localized flooding will be a concern, especially on Sunday and Monday as we get more training showers and even some heavier downpours to make their way in here. So a lot of tropical moisture, tropical downpours in place, making things pretty soggy, saturated ground out there by the time the weekend wraps up and even as we start next week. Now, Tuesday, there will be some showers around, but overall, coverage of rain should begin to lessen. Wednesday looks to be a fairly nice day. It's going to be our warmest day here over the next 7, back into the mid-80s, around 85, 86. And then, as I mentioned, that cold front's going to be dropping in across the southeast and toward the first coast by the end of next week. So with that approaching front, it does look like we could see some showers along it, perhaps as early as Thursday evening, but more than likely by Friday as the front hits us. Along with that, probably our coolest temperatures of the season so far. Highs right now looking to be pretty much right around that 80-degree mark, upper 70s, and overnight lows perhaps down into the low 60s by the time we get to the start of next weekend. That's all I got, folks. Enjoy your weekend. Stay weather aware. Stay safe out there. I'm meteorologist Ross Mumal. Take care.
And we think this is a project that's going to really meaningfully address flooding across the city.
Jacksonville has thrust itself into the forefront of flood modeling. It is the first city in the country to create a compound flood model that will forecast the probability of flooding across the entirety of the river city.
The last storm doesn't tell you where the next storm's going to hit. And so this is going to be really the first time that we have a granular picture of where we can experience flooding in real time.
The compound flood model will look at things like topography and tributaries and spit out 10,000 possible flooding scenarios. The city will then use a software called Flood ID to input real-time data from an approaching storm like wind speed and direction, tidal height, and expected rainfall, and the model will produce a map of what areas of the city are most likely to experience flooding from a storm.
And that'll help them trigger evacuation orders at the right time, handle flow out of different parts of the city as evacuations are happening.
The model will help with preparation ahead of an approaching storm in more ways than just issuing neighborhood-specific evacuation orders.
And this real-time forecasting system will help our Public Works Department know exactly where we're likely to experience the most severe flooding and make sure that crews are out there clearing storm drains in those parts of the city. And it'll also tell us what time we need to call them back to make sure we're keeping all of our personnel safe.
The city has multiple partners helping develop this model. Work on it began in January, and it is about a year and a half away from completion. Jacksonville is on the cutting edge of this modeling, but it wants to be neighborly and set the stage for other flood-prone areas.
And it was really important to me that this model be something that can be replicated in other parts of Florida or other parts of the country. So it's all using open data, and that'll make it easier for the next community that wants to tackle compound flood modeling to replicate a model.
You got to make sure you're exactly on point with your forecast.
Being part of the most accurate weather team, we can give you that trust, helping you stay safe.
You earn someone's trust by showing up every day for them.
Why does it matter in a forecast? Trust isn't everything, it's the only thing.
Consistency with, the accuracy in your forecast.
You're planning your day around it. You're planning your life around the weather forecast. Every storm.
Every forecast.
We are earning your trust.
Rely on the team working every day to earn your trust. First Coast News on your side.
Hi folks, I'm meteorologist Lewis Turner, working here at First Coast News. We're on your side.